So maybe expand on that, your life matters and how important that is from a Glowworthy principle.
Well, I'm thinking as I'm listening to you of two examples that I think will serve the community.
Mm.
You may be out there listening thinking, Steve, you have a wife and you live in South Africa and you're super fit and you're wearing a cool vest and your daughter's into fashion. I'm like a loser in America, in Ohio, and I'm 400 pounds and I am eating a corn dog and I don't have a girlfriend. And, I have, easy for you to say, Steve, this unconditional family love. Like anybody out there listening that feels alone, that their life doesn't have meaning. I was listening to Tony Robbins speak the other day, and he said he had a guy come to one of his workshops that was a free event during COVID. And the reason I said 400 pounds, my whole family's from Ohio, so I'm allowed to talk about fat people from Ohio because I'm one of them. And he said this guy was 450 pounds. He could barely move his body, and he showed up on Zoom. Had COVID not happened, Tony Robbins would never have been on Zoom. These are live events, but Tony took it all on Zoom. He was able to reach this guy in Ohio, and he came on the screen with this exact feeling, my life doesn't have meaning. And Tony, Tony Robbins, he's like, I want you to just lift one arm in the air every day, and he said, I'm going to challenge you to do these exercises and lose this weight and do he has this whole uplift your brain protocol, do it every day. And if you do this, I'm going to bring you to the next event. He shows up at the next event having lost 250 pounds. Mm. He is now a member of Tony Robbins' core team, inspiring other people to move out of their limitations. Now, I'm not like selling Tony Robbins. I mean, there's a lot of factors that can be involved that are subconscious, that are very tricky to overcome. But this is one example of the way that you could be in the darkest moment of your life, and that one change that you do for yourself be inspiring to millions. That's an example of one person who felt worthless affecting millions. Now let me give you another example of one person affecting one person, which is just as valid. I have a podcast called Spirit Sessions. You know this. Sometimes I'll do these monologues and I don't even know who's out there listening. I just put it out there, and it was all about this topic you and I are talking about now, of putting your hand on your heart and just letting whatever is here be allowed. And a woman was walking down the street in Roanoke, Virginia, where my mom lives. I don't live there. And she said, I was listening to your daughter's podcast, and she told her, now remember, I'm in the deep South. She tells her surgeon husband about this technique, as if I invented it, right? Katie Silcox has this technique. Honey, you've been so stressed out as this 70-year-old or 60-year-old surgeon in Virginia. Sweetie, just put your hand on your heart and breathe. And just whatever is there, just say, you're allowed to be here. You're allowed. And he said to her, wow, that feels really good. But in order for me to keep this feeling, I might have to keep my hand on my heart all day.
Yeah.
Now, in that story, who was the one that benefited? It was me. It was the way that telephone game got back to me. And I heard that older gentleman in Virginia saying, I might have to keep my hand on my heart all day. That is the deeper teaching, that what it means to be a spiritual practitioner is not that we roll out a yoga mat or we do a 30-minute meditation. It's that in some way we've trained ourselves enough to remember to put that hand on our heart, even if only in our mind, on our heart, hand on our heart all day long. It's this constant state of being surrendered to that.